This is cs952 Introduction to Web Technologies and Design, and this video is going to review a few things about HTML in the second module. In the second week, we're going to get an introduction to HTML, which is hypertext markup language, and so I'm basically going through some of the material that you're going to find in the module. If you go to, I'm looking at the module right now, and if we go to the page in the module, you'll see Introduction to HTML, and it gives you some information about HTML. There's also a website that we have for the class, cs952, and if you go to student.cs952.org, much of the same material there is presented. If I go to week 2 and look at section 2, it's as I said, much of the same material. This website, the cs952.org website, is a little bit more mobile friendly or tablet friendly, and we're using Bootstrap 3 to do the formatting, so everything looks a little bit nicer on this page, and that's because we're using Bootstrap 3 to help us out. But we talk about what HTML5 is. So it's hypertext markup language, which means we're going to take some basic simple text and then we're going to put tags around it to mark it up. So there's two parts. There's the hypertext part, and then there's the markup language. So when we talk about the markup language, that's when we talk about, as I show in this example here, putting tags around either side of some basic text to mark it up. And then the hypertext part refers to the ability to link from one page to another page. So that's what HTML is all about. You're going to be taking ordinary text, you're going to be marking it up, and then you're going to create links to other pages. Now, if you're logged into Etudes and you're looking at this module, I give you a link to a really great website called the Try It Editor from W3 Schools, and I really encourage you to check this out. And basically, this is the editor that we're looking at here. On the left-hand side is a web page, the code for a web page. And then on the right-hand side shows you what that code would look like. So I just clicked on the link and we're looking at some basic HTML. You can see we've got some text in here. The content of the body element is displayed in your browser. Let's look at the examples from student.cs952.org for the second module. And I've got an example here, how to learn HTML. So I'm going to copy that, and you'll notice that I have H1 tags on either side of it. So let's go back to our Try It editor, and I'm going to add that to this page. How to learn I'm missing the T there. HTML, okay? So I'm going to take this content that I see over here, and I'm going to click on Run, and you can see on the right-hand side what it looks like. Now in our module, we learn to add tags around content. So to create a paragraph, we add paragraph tags around content. To create a heading, we add heading tags around content. So let's go back to our Try It editor, and I'm going to put a paragraph tag around this first line of text. And then I'm going to put an H1 or heading tag around the second line of text. So I have two lines of text, and I'm putting a tag on either side of those lines of text. The P marks this as a paragraph, and a paragraph, as we learn, is a block element, which means it's going to take up as much space as possible, and it's going to clear any content above it or below it. Big old block. Then our next block element is the H1 tag, how to learn HTML. H1 tags are the largest of the pre-existing formatting styles we have in HTML, and then paragraph is sort of our regular standard body tag. So let's click the Run button and see, how does this text look? This is what the text looks like now with no markup. How does it look after we add some markup? There you go. You can see that the How to Learn HTML is much larger, and that's because it has the H1 tag. Now I'm going to change that from an H1 to an H2 tag. I'm going to hit Run again, and let's see what happens. It's a little bit smaller. So the H1 tag is the largest of our heading tags, and they go all the way down to H6, which is actually kind of small. So we learned about this in the first module. We learn how these different tags that we add around text change the way that it looks. Now typically we have an opening and enclosing tag for all of our elements. There are a couple exceptions, and really the big one is an image source. We also discuss block elements. So a block element means, and these are both block elements, paragraph and H1, means that this is going to take up just as much space as it can on the page. It's not going to let anything be above it or below it. That means it's a block element. Now, the opposite of a block element is an inline element. So let's say I'm going to take the word element, and I want to wrap this word element in an inline tag. Now, the most flexible inline tag that we have is the span tag, which basically does nothing by itself. We also learned that the most flexible block element that we have is the div tag. So I'm going to hit run, and you're going to see that nothing has changed. I wrapped the word element in a span tag, nothing changed, because inline elements don't change anything. Let me give you another example of an inline element, the anchor tag. Let's say I'm going to write a new line of text. I use Google, if I can type Google, to find information. Okay? And I'm going to put this also in a paragraph tag. And let's run that and see what that looks like. Okay? Exactly what we expected. Now I'm going to wrap the word Google in an anchor tag, which is an inline tag. And inline tags don't add any additional space, don't take up any extra room. But here's what we can do. So I'm going to put a opening anchor tag for the word Google, and I'm going to put it in a closing anchor tag, and let's run that again. Well, again, there's no change. The anchor tag by itself doesn't do anything. We need to give it some kind of source. What are we going to link it to? The anchor is what we use to create links. So I'm going to say anchor reference. Now this is what I'm going to be linking to. And I'm going to put in http:// www.google.com. And this is going to create a link. Ahref, I need to add my equals part. Ahref equals, and I'm going to use one additional command that we'll learn later, target equals underscore blank. And I'm doing that because it makes this open up in a new page. We'll learn this a little bit later, but the example of this is how an inline tag doesn't create any more space here on the page. Let's hit run. Okay, now what happens when I click on the word Google? It opens up our web page Google. So that is the use of an anchor tag. I use the span tag for the word element. I could say span style equals color :red. And if I run that, you're going to see that the word element is now red. So these are classic examples of using inline elements. Now we can nest content. So right now I have a paragraph tag that's opening and closing this. I could also enclose part of my content. I'm going to use the strong I, and I'm going to put the word I, and I'm going to put an opening and closing strong tag around I, and we're going to hit run. And when we do that, notice how the letter I is now thick and bold. So we have the letter I that's closed on either side by a strong tag that's all wrapped inside of a paragraph tag. This is all contained inside of the body tag. And this is all contained inside of the HTML tag. And we learned about this as well. We learned that we can have tags nested inside of other tags. When we talk about elements on a web page, that's the combination of both the content and the tag that's around it. So if I talk about this paragraph element, what I'm talking about is the opening and closing paragraph tag and also the content that's inside of it. So the element as kind of like a whole unit of information. When this paragraph tag is contained inside of this body tag, then we talk about how the paragraph tag is a child of the body tag. Now every web page that you're going to be working with starts and ends with HTML. And that means everything inside of this document is hypertext markup language. Then we have our body tag. What's missing from this little sample tag is the opening and closing head tags. If this was an actual web page, then we would also have an opening head tag and a closing head tag. And the head tag has references to any additional files you may be using. I think of the head tag as having the rules of the game. So we've talked about nesting. We've talked about the different elements on the page. We talk about rendering a web page, which is when we click run, exactly how this page ends up being displayed, because actually several rules have to be executed. And last thing I want to mention is commenting code. So all the code that we've dealt with so far, we can see it on the web page. Now occasionally we may want to leave a little note for ourselves, and I'm going to leave a comment. So to write a comment in HTML, you type the left pointing arrow, exclamation point, and then 2 dashes. And I'm going to type, "This is my first web page." And then I'm going to close that. So when we do this, this is called a comment. This left arrow, exclamation point, dash, dash, and then we have something written in here, and then we have dash, dash, right pointing arrow. This basically turns all this code off that's in between these two tags. If I hit run, you see nothing changed here on the page. But if I go back to look at this page later, then there are some comments here to maybe help me understand what I've done. So this is just a brief little walkthrough of some of the material that's covered in the first module. If you go back to Etudes, this is the Try It editor. There's a couple really good videos to look at. And if you want to step through, I have a thing here, Extra for Experts, the HTML tutorial at W3 Schools. This is a really, really great tutorial. If you want to be serious about learning web design and you'd really like to get a lot of additional information, then step through this tutorial. They're going to cover a lot more information than we cover in the class, and you'll have a deeper background. But I hope this gives you some additional guidance, and ask me any questions. Shoot me a personal message in Etudes if there's anything I can help with.